everyone, howdy, hi, welcome back to my channel and another video. We are doing a combination of 2025 review and 2026 looking ahead. I ultimately needed to take a break in December, which fits the essence of this video, and I also just did some things differently this past December. And even at the time of filming this in the beginning of January, I'm not as strict as I have been in past years of feeling like you're supposed to wake up and become this new version of you and the locking in of it all, and you have to get things done and it has to be perfect, because if you don't do it the first 5 days of the new calendar year, then your year is over. We're rejecting that mentality, and I ultimately, again, wanted to combine the two video ideas I had for December and welcome you into the new year with a different perspective. And this is also something you can take yourself and apply it to your own story, your own plans, your own journey. My therapist told me that she's really proud of me doing this and she liked the idea that I did this. So that felt like a cosign to go ahead and share. So without further ado, if you're into this and you want to find new ways on how to reflect on the past, embrace the present, but also look forward to the future, then keep watching. Starting off with reflecting on how since February of 2025, we were in the year of the snake. This meant transformation, shedding, release, growth, improvement, flexibility, renewal, evolution, and letting go. I did not know this until November, and learning these themes and how the cultural review of Year of the Snake involved so heavily in how my 2025 played out was significant to me. I've heard a lot of people say that this was a hard year for them, and I feel for myself it wasn't a hard year, but it truly felt like a wake-up year. Nothing changed, I feel, from the years of 2020 to 2025, but unlike 2020 to 2024, in 2025, I made even the smallest steps forward that will allow me to not keep repeating the cycles that I quite literally could see from social media memories, and this is what you were doing last year, little updates and notifications that you get, that more and more towards the end of the year, less and less did my 2025 look like any of the years before it. So what I did after this reflection is, instead of criticizing myself for not meeting resolutions, what? Instead of criticizing myself for not meeting resolutions, not having these accomplishments come true, and not evaluating my year with a critical lens, I decided to write out January through December and put one good thing that happened, or one pivotal thing that happened in that month. Starting with January, I competed for Miss Finger Lakes 2025. I have that in a vlog on my channel. For February, I got a comment on my prior TikTok, because I no longer have a public figure TikTok, where someone commented, "I just want you to know that you have such a famous face." And they said some more stuff, but that comment specifically really stood out to me, because at the time I was feeling like maybe I should give up, maybe I shouldn't keep going with whatever you want to call it at this point. Sometimes I wonder if I'm doing too much, but in the same breath, I feel if I just give up, I'm never going to be satisfied with where I'm at. I'm always going to have that itch for more, that feeling like it's waiting for me to show up for it, so on and so forth. And we'll talk about that more in the 2026 portion of the video. In March, I got my wisdom teeth removed, and I got to see my dogs and my parents because they came to take care of me. And that was really pivotal to me, because that felt like the first step into taking my health seriously last year, as well as beginning just to understand that it's okay to ask for help. In April, I received the title of Miss Orange County, which was a title in the Miss America organization to compete at Miss New York for the 2025 title. In May, I did a podcast interview specifically focusing on myself, my title, and things I'm passionate about, such as being a literacy advocate. And I will link that podcast episode down in the description box if you missed it back when I announced it. Then after it was released in June, I did a lot of volunteering and I felt very connected with my community, and just using the Miss Orange County title to branch out and ensure that everyone within my county, my advocacy reach, was learning more about Miss America, as well as other ways to get into the community outside of just doing literacy-based advocacy for my platform specifically. In July, I competed for the title of Miss New York, and I walked away with the social media award, which you'll hear me repeat again because I did like a little bonus point at the end of this recap. In August, I had a portrait of myself done and it's absolutely beautiful. I'm going to get it printed out and put into a frame that my friend gave me. In September, I went on a Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, Kentucky road trip. Again, I vlogged that if you want to go back and look at some of the things I did during that trip. It was a last minute trip that I booked because my mom did not want to go visit her friend alone, and it turned out to be very fun. It was my first time ever being in the state of Kentucky, and it was just one of those spontaneous, let's do it. And I always love spending time with my family. October, I got to experience Universal Orlando's Epic Universe, which was years of anticipation in the making. And even though the trip was a lot and it was a bit of a bust, and all things considered, it could have gone better. We saw David Harbour multiple times on his family vacation, and a lot of the things we were going through, he and his family were going through. So it kind of felt like one of those we're all human, no matter who you are, things are going to happen type of moments. And it just kind of felt surreal to experience all those things and realize that the world is so small and you never know who you're gonna see and what you're gonna do. But I also got to ride, I would say, all the rides I really wanted to ride, and I even walked away doing pretty much everything I wanted to do, and I was satisfied with everything I wanted to do. And in November, my best friend Mika visited me. We saw Hamilton. I got to take her around some of the things I do so she could get a visual of what I'm always talking about. And it was just a much needed visit from a friend. And I think at a time where I was losing all my friends and I was feeling very isolated, and I feel I'm someone who lost like 50% of her friends to just changing as a person, just naturally communication fell through, whatever the case may be, and not taking that personal. But I also feel like I'm someone over the years, reflecting on it, who has lost her friendships to relationships. I unfortunately feel that a lot of people I was once close with became like that. You probably seen on social media where someone says, you know, like you lose your friends once they fall in love, or your friends just don't prioritize platonic relationships as much as they do romantic relationships. And during a time where I was kind of, like I said, growing out of friendships and losing friendships to romance, I have made friends that truly feel like sisters I always wanted. And it is like the perfect balance of having people in my life who come from different backgrounds with different perspectives, and they make me feel like a well-rounded person. And I would love going into 2026 to kind of embark more on those relationships that I have with friends prior from college, friends that I've made through the hobbies I've picked up along the way, and even just mutual friends I've had over the years through the internet. And in December, I got to rest. I saw my family, and I originally was going to go on a trip that didn't happen, but then I went on another trip, and it actually led me to something that I've been looking at for some time, and kind of showed me like, this is real. This isn't just something you see on your computer. And I feel that was pivotal and really changed my life. So all in all, this year felt like 5 separate years. In my mind, January was different from February, March, which was different from April to June, which was separate than July, which was separate from August through December. But my little honorable mention awards is I won the Talent Award at the Finger Lakes Local. I won the Social Media Award at the state competition. I saw Hamilton with Leslie Odom Jr. as as Aaron Burr. I like totally was trying to get that right in my head, and then it came out wrong. I asked for help and I got a lot of medical intervention this year, which was like finally overdue. And as I shared with my therapist that I started meeting with in, I believe, December, it was this realization. I didn't have a full grieving, but I did kind of have this realization of, you kept pushing this off for 5 years because you kept telling yourself that this was a moral failure and not something that needed help. And thinking, oh, like one day I'm just gonna wake up and feel like I did when I was 15, and I'm not going to go through these cycles and I'm not gonna struggle anymore. But the reality is that day was never coming. I needed to reach out and talk to professionals and get help. So just going to all these different doctors, doing the recommended annual things you're supposed to do with your medical situations, and just feeling like I'm finally taking care of myself versus acting like, oh, I'm healthy and I don't need to go do these things. And last but not least, I worked on a television show which actually premieres this week in January on Fox, and getting to see my first showbiz production versus independent or student films was really, really exciting. And here's to us actually getting a line or a what they call a role, if you will. That was actually such a good experience. I met so many amazing actors and got like their insights, and they kind of made me delusional because all of them told me I could definitely still do high school. So you live long enough to become the villain, and in this case that's pushing 30 in the words of Timothy Chalamet and still playing a high schooler. And at the bottom of this page I put for 2026, which I think I'll just wrap in with my 2026 portion of the video. At the time of filming this, it's only January 5th. And surprise, surprise, a lot of people don't understand that the calendar year and the lunar new year are not the same thing. I'm already seeing people saying, happy year of the horse. It is not year of the horse. We are still very much in year of the snake, according to what lunar new year is. And there's this energy right now that just feels like you're still growing, you're still changing. I feel like for myself, there's like that final closure of, okay, you've learned these lessons, you're going to grow from all these things, you have the tools you need to keep going. And at church this past Sunday, for First Sunday, I was able to go, and I'm really glad because I was kind of yearning that. I don't get to go to the church I'm a member of that often because I'm currently just not living in the same city as the church. And the message ultimately was my pastor breaking down the verse of rejoice always. And he broke it down into 10 points. And outside of those 10 points, he said something that really stuck with me about miracles being cheap. He said how in scripture, even people who were not believers of Christ, people who were sinners, they also received miracles from God. And that's why just because you get a miracle doesn't mean that it's worth anything, because there's no growth, there's no reflection, there's no lesson, there's no learning with a miracle. I got kind of called out. My mom and I were both saying like that message spoke to us, but there was like specific things that were said that both of us were like, oh, that was actually for me. He doesn't even know that that's my situation, but that was for me. And one of those moments for me was when he said, you'll hear a lot of people say like bad things always happen to good people, but there's only one person that applies to. And that really stuck with me because I was finding myself in that loop too. The concept of being triggered, which really worked out because I was listening to a podcast and the podcaster was talking about emotional resilience and getting yourself out of triggers and cycles, and starting my mental health journey last year and trying to myself not let myself get triggered by things. And all these messages and all these things kind of all came together for this new year, the calendar year and the lunar new year of 2026 being the year of the fire horse. And this meaning that there's momentum, there's boldness, there's forward movement in your life, there's alignment and change. You're going to find freedom. You're going to find that maybe you have things show up for you. I put maybe there's a business in your future, maybe there's relocation, maybe you're pursuing a dream with confidence no matter what the outcome is. Trusting your inner guidance during this time and knowing that everything is happening for my good, for your good, for our good. And how even before I knew these themes and these concepts, I was feeling that energy already going into this year. So thank you for sitting through this little what is 2026 to me definition breakdown and all that jazz. But now I'm going to talk specifically about myself and what I am putting out there as the things I'm hoping to strive for in the next calendar year, but especially starting on February 17th when this Lunar New Year change of entering the year of the fire horse is set to begin. I was speaking with my therapist about how when I was younger, it felt like I was going from 0 to 100. I wanted to go from 1,000 subscribers to 1 million in a year. I wanted to go from no acting experience to Oscar winner in a year. I wanted to go from no capital, no investors, just a girl in a dream to Forbes list, 7-figure business in a year. And I'm glad 21-year-old me thought the sky was the limit and that she could get a master's and a few doctoral degrees, and she wanted by 25 to have a house, like the house, the dream house, the dream car, like not starters, like no, like the from build, maybe we've got 20 acres and a ranch and we're 1 million. You know what I mean? Like I was like, it's gonna be mine in a year. And then that didn't happen. And then it didn't happen again. And then it didn't happen again. And as the years have gone on, I became more burnt out, especially with my mental health and not addressing it. And also the things I wanted changed. And the reason I share all that leading into what 2026 will hopefully be, but while also not really beating myself up if it isn't 100% that thing, is there needs to be a step. And so when speaking with my therapist, she ultimately told me to look at consistency. And how does that look in the near future? And that's just reflecting on how am I going to be more creative and working towards how do I make my creativity my hobbies, and then for my hobbies, my career. And the rest of this year though, I essentially wrote my resolutions, and I have what I would consider things in my control and things out of my control. And that kind of summarizes my resolutions for this year and how I'm taking it this year. Ultimately, I have the things in my control that I've laid out and I've broken down by quarter of what I want to do. But then what's out of my control are the numbers and the hoping game and seeing what comes of what I'm doing. This video turned out a bit longer than I anticipated it being, but I hope it was worth the watch and worth the wait. If you want to share some of the things you're excited for in 2026, I'd love to see them in the comment section. As always, you're so important, you're so loved, you're so blessed. And if you're watching this before February 17th, please know, specifically February 17th of 2026, that it's okay to still feel restful and in recovery and still easing into this new year. For context, I went to the state of Florida and it was 50 degrees max my entire visit. And then I came right back to New York where the high was 20 degrees, and then it started snowing and my car was already covered with other fresh snow and it was baked in ice. So yeah, I'm not gonna just instantly be feeling like a new woman and feeling like I'm ready to take on the world when my 2 weeks off had me feeling like I was already retired. And now I have to prepare to go to work tomorrow, and I still need to work out. And I still have all these videos I need to edit, and I still have all these things I'm trying to accomplish. So it's okay if you're feeling a little slow and wanting to take it easy and be restful, and maybe you're achy and you just don't feel revitalized. That is normal. It is still winter. Take care of yourself. I will see you in the next video, and as always, be safe and take care.